it's a film was ripped off, so I'm gonna replace it. By the way, yes, hello guys, good morning. Today we have here an HF VHF transceiver, the Icom IC-706, sent to us by Manong Benj. By the way, Manong means it's an Ilocano word for brother. Yeah, I have to speak English because a lot of foreigners watching my YouTube videos were criticizing me for not speaking English, so I will be doing it in English, by the way. Okay, so Manong Benj or Kuya Benj in Tagalog, Kuya means brother in English, sent me this radio for repair. Actually this one has as you can see, it's darkened, and it's a film was ripped off, so I'm gonna replace it. By the way, this kind of problem is still common today with our modern LCDs. I don't know with our LED monitors, but with the modern LCD monitors, computer monitors, it also happens. So the cause of this is when the LCD glass were subjected to considerable heat, it would affect the LCD polarizer film. It would either rip off, weakening the glue, so causing it to darken, or doing some things like this on the LCD panel. So today we're gonna try to replace that. We're gonna repair this LCD, replacing the polarizing film in a bit.
The Icom IC-706 has a detachable head panel, typical of anti-theft car radio models in the 90s. With the right extension cord harness provided by Icom, the head panel can be placed anywhere in the dashboard while concealing the main body unit out of sight. Or you can take the head unit with you to deter or discourage theft of the main transceiver unit installed in the car. Disassembly of the head unit is straightforward. First, remove the plastic knobs. And unscrew the nuts of the volume, the shift controls, and the main rotary switch on the front. And then get to the back cover and remove two screws off. Then lift the lid. Remove the SIF ribbon cable that connects the volume, squelch, and RIT shift control module. Remove the handheld PTT push-to-talk connector socket. And then wedge the sides and pry out the CPU board out of the case. Once the CPU control board has been removed completely off the case, remove the metal frame that holds the whole LCD assembly. The LCD frame was fastened with 6 clipping fits to the circuit board. You can wedge those off with a tweezer or a small flat screwdriver and then lift the metal frame, revealing the LCD glass panel and the backlight panel behind it. Remove the LCD glass and keep away the zebra connector and the whole front board assembly. As for the LCD glass, This is our main concern. It's now time to remove the peeled and damaged polarizer film. Carefully scrape the crumpled film completely with a thin cutter knife. You can start removing the adhesive off the glass by rubbing it with cotton soaked in any adhesive removing solvent. I don't have a film adhesive remover right now, so I will just use whatever solvent available at home. Isopropyl alcohol is too mild and won't work with hardened polarizer glue, so I'll just use lacquer thinner for this kind of task. I heard others have some success with lighter fluid. But whatever solvent you use, just be careful not to apply excessive force to avoid scratching the glass or even the risk of breaking it. Luckily, the LCD glass of the Icom 706 is thick enough to endure strain. But again, I'll be extra careful doing this to avoid unexpected problems. Don't rush and be patient. The glue will soften gradually and will be scraped off completely. Just take your time and be extra careful working with the LCD glass. Now that the glass is clean and shiny, we can test the LCD panel by applying power and see if all the digit segments are complete and visible. Also, we could test the polarizer's brightness and contrast before we put a new film to the front surface. So far, we are doing a good job removing the damaged polarized film. But unfortunately, the adhesive has gotten through the front cover and laminated itself to the plastic window. This looks bad and will affect the visibility of the LCD segment display. We will find a remedy for this later, but for now, let us assemble the head panel first for the quick test of the polarizer film we are fixing. You will notice that the brightness and contrast change when I rotate a piece of the replacement film. This is because there's another polarized film laid on the backside of the LCD fronting the backlight module. As we rotate the front polarizer farther, the display inverts and the polarity was reversed. Now, the segments are all lit up while the background is darkened. Now let us dismantle and continue the restoration of the Icom IC-706. Wipe the glass to remove dust and fingerprints before putting on the new polarizing film. This film has a sticky adhesive side. Lay the film flat gently and evenly on a glass surface. Start rubbing firmly from the edges until the film covers the whole area of the LCD glass. As much as possible, avoid bubbles forming underneath while applying pressure. Peel off and redo the process if too many bubbles have appeared. Now, get a sharp knife and carefully cut the excess film off the sides. Be careful not to scathe any portions of the LCD, especially the contacts terminals. You do not want any damage to the LCD that may affect the digital segment terminals that connects into the CPU board via the Zebra connector. Now the LCD glass panel is ready for installation. But before assembly, let us first clean the terminals on the CPU board to ensure good circuit connection. I use an ultrafine grade sandpaper to remove corrosions that develops into circuit board terminals of RAM chips, video cards, and other computer peripherals. I will use the same technique in cleaning the Icom 706 CPU board contact terminals that touches the LCD's Zebra connector. Also, clean the Zebra connector with a piece of cotton dipped with lacquer thinner solution. Now, concerning the 706 display cover, this is plastic and not glass. We have a 50-50 chance of removing the hardened acrylic adhesive that sticks to it. I will dip a cotton into the lacquer thinner and pour some isopropyl alcohol directly to the plastic. My formula will be about 3-part alcohol and 1 part lacquer thinner, so our solvent solution will be mild enough not to melt the plastic and prevent foggy view to the display underneath. Aside from the LCD issue, I also discovered that the main rotary control does not work anymore after dismantling the head module. It looks like the wiper arm no longer have electrical contacts with the terminal pads inside. Our last resort is to replace the rotary switch with a working one. The replacement switch does not match the original size of the part and the shaft is a bit shorter. But this is the only thing I could salvage from my junk box, so let us use this thing for the time being. I have to wire it all up since the 3 pins do not fit the board. This is a common issue with vintage radios having rotary control switches. Even the SLR and Digicam rotary mode switch suffer similar problems like this. I tried few drops of cleaning solvent, but it does not fix the issue. Now that we have a clean, fully restored LCD and have addressed all the other issues, it's time to reassemble the module and do another test. Put the LCD Zebra connectors in place, and then place the LCD panel on top of the backlight module. And close the whole assembly with the metal frame and lock it in. And that's it. We have the fully restored LCD panel for the Icom IC-706. Since this is just a temporary test, we will wire the replacement rotary switch externally to see if it works with the Icom 706. If it works, then we will install it later and fix it to the front panel casing where it should be. The moment of truth. Oh, look at the screen, now fully restored and with all segments complete. The replacement rotary switch I salvaged from my old Icom VHF transceiver also seemed to work with our IC-706. Looks like we have been successful so far with this repair and restoration. Although we have to make some compromises since spare parts for this old radio are obsolete and hard to find. Now our fix is complete. It's time to put the head unit and all the parts together for the final assembly. Since the replacement rotary switch is smaller and does not match the layout of the circuit board, I'll have to solder some wires and jumper it out of the board. We can still attach it to the front panel casing since the shaft diameter still matched the original defective rotary switch, although half an inch shorter. Rotary switch like this have different pins polarity depending on where it was installed. It is a normally open switch that only closes the circuit when you turn the knob and thus changing the frequency or switch functions of the Icom 706 radio. This switch has separate connections for left and right positions. You'll have to wire it correctly or else clockwise and counterclockwise functions will be reversed. If you misplace the ground pin to either of the forward or backward pin, it may not work at all. It took me several wire combinations before I could make this work in the correct position. Now, I'd like to show you the full wideband receive coverage of this radio, and we'll do some band scanning and see if we could pick up anything amid strong noise floor in my area. Yes, most of the time, the HF and medium wave band is useless for DXing here in my area due to high level of static and motorboating noise interference.
natin. Kapag laging may tubig yan, yung ating mga alveoli o yung parang lobo sa loob ng baga natin, magdidikitan yan. So kahit na anong hihit mo, hindi na makapasok ang hangin.
Oo. Hi, ang hirap i-imagine, Doc, ng iyong dinidiscuss. Kaya naman habang pinapaliwanag mo yan, ako ay talagang palagi ang
Coming to Christ.
My lawyers advised me not to. I can get in trouble. Well, but to clarify,
Davao yun. Diba? Ano, naghatid siya ng pera sa Davao. So, some people are saying na kapag agad ito yes, delikado. Dinialysis ka dahil ang kidneys mo, hindi ginagawa ang function.
are the royal priest.
Pati yung balance.
The Icom IC-706 has separate antennas for HF and VHF. In order to hear broadcast radio stations on the 88 to 108 MHz band, you must connect an antenna to the VHF slot, which is the lower side connector at the back of the 706. Same antenna to be used if you want to operate on the VHF 6-meter 50 MHz band and the VHF 2-meter band 137 to 174 MHz.
Proverbs 13:20 says, walk with the wise and become wise, but a companion of fools suffer harm. Here's some...
For my final test, let's switch back to HF band antenna to hear shortwave broadcast.
A Nature Index report shows that China has, for the first time, claimed more than half of the top 10 spots in the Global Science City rankings, increasing from 5 cities in 2023 to 6 in 2024. The Nature Index is a database that tracks high-quality scientific research. Beijing continues to maintain its position as the world's top science city. A rank is held since 2016, while Shanghai remains in second place. Nanjing ranks 5th and Guangzhou follows, with Wuhan ranking 8th and Hangzhou 10th. The New York metropolitan area took 3rd place, followed by the Boston metropolitan area. The Israel Defense Forces has confirmed its attacks on UN peacekeepers.
Okay guys, my job is done. Thanks for watching my lengthy restoration video of the Icom IC-706 HF, VHF, all-mode, all-band radio transceiver. This may not be considered a full restoration job because I only covered the LCD repair and the rotary control switch replacement. But just the same, I hope you learned something from my effort. Thanks for watching, and until our next project. See ya! Bye bye!